Good morning, and thank you all for being here today and for the work that you all have been doing on the ground. I'll repeat what everybody knows, which Uptown matters. Uptown is experiencing a comeback, but we need to be doing the work to make sure that it happens faster. We've all got these beautiful, nostalgic memories about what Uptown was 6, 7, 8 years ago, 20 years ago. What's certain is that the Uptown of the future is going to be dramatically different from the Uptown of the past, but there are a few core things that need to be the same. One of them is the conviction that we need safety on our streets. People need to feel safe. They need to be safe. The conditions along the sidewalks need to be livable. People need to feel comfortable walking down the sidewalk and getting to local businesses. And we're here today to talk about what we've been doing that has been working, and also some of the areas where we need to be doubling down even further. So I'm not going to get into every detail. We've got some experts that'll be following me, including the chief, that'll be giving a rundown of the work that is underway. But here's some of the work that's happening. First, our Minneapolis Police Department, the 5th Precinct, have stood up on-the-ground patrols, and we know that they're making a difference. These ongoing daytime patrol units have been tackling livability concerns. They've been preventing issues from happening before they arise. They've been de-escalating tense situations, and they've been making sure that we're preventing some of the on-site drug use from taking place that has largely prevented people from going to these businesses from the get-go. At night, our night watch teams are coordinating closely with businesses, with Metro Transit, with Park Police, and with the county, also tackling livability issues head-on, and Chief O'Hare will share some of the more on the results here shortly. But it is clear that these efforts are working, thanks to the entire 5th Precinct team and Inspector Novak. We've also had strong partners across the board, many of whom are here with us today. Metro Transit, especially the Homeless Action Team, thank you for your work at places like the Uptown Transit Center and on the mall. Hennepin County, and Commissioner Green is here with us, including the security work that is happening here at the Walker Library. Thank you for being a critical partner. The Park Police for your continued presence and coordination. And both the Minneapolis and Hennepin County Health Departments for connecting people to services and treatment. Again, if we're going to tackle some of the issues that we're seeing on the streets, it needs a comprehensive approach. We need upstream work. We need social services. We need prevention. We need treatment. And yes, we also need enforcement. If one of those solutions is taken away, you ultimately have problems on your streets, and what we've found is that we need to be doubling down much further. And most importantly, I really want to give a big thank you to the residents and the businesses that are here with us, including Kevin Norman. These are people that have stepped up. The Uptown ambassadors have done an incredible job making sure that they're watching what's taking place on the streets, connecting people to social services, calling 911 where it's essential. And I know that they've got this ongoing relationship with Inspector Novak, with our chief, and with the Minneapolis Police Department and social services that we're providing. When they saw a problem, they stepped up. They wanted to be part of the solution. You organize neighborhood walks, you launch all sorts of campaigns to show support for this area that you love. And again, we are starting to see the buds of success, whether it's the Apple Store, the old Apple Store that is getting transitioned over to a new life, 7 Points. There's some great news that's coming down the pike on that one, or a number of different businesses. You know, I've been telling people, you will start to see the buds of success in Uptown, and at the same time, you will not be satisfied with the results yet. This is going to take some serious work, and all of these partners are up for it. Also, today we're going to be announcing the expansion of our Community Safety Ambassador program in Uptown. Now, that's not going to happen in the immediacy, but that is work that is underway. The engagement is taking place, and we're going to be sure to roll that out later this year. We've seen this model work over on East Lake Street and East Franklin. We've studied the data, we listened to the community, and now we're going to be bringing the same visible on-the-ground support right here. And part of this work also means is leaning in and being honest about what we're seeing on our streets. I can't overstate the impact that addiction has had on our streets, not just on one individual, but on an entire neighborhood. This is an area where my perspective has changed over the last 7 years. You need to meet people where they're at. We need to be providing support systems like a mobile medical unit, like treatment and social services. And we also can't be allowing open drug use on our streets. When you do so, it has a massive impact not just on the individual experiencing addiction and their family, but on the entire corridor. We've seen these areas hard hit by the repercussions of deep addiction and drug proliferation, and we need to be stepping up to be honest about it, to do something about it, to provide the supports for people who need it, and yes, also make sure that we're enforcing the law. That's part of the comeback that we're going to see in Uptown. And so compassion means meeting people where they're at, but it doesn't mean that anything goes. So that's why I'm really proud to work alongside these partners that have been leading. Thank you to all the speakers that are going to come after me, from the commissioner to Chief O'Hara, to Kevin Norman. I really want to give a huge thank you, though, here to Councilmember Elizabeth Shaffer. The minute that she came in, she had this laser-like focus on Uptown and the work that needs to be done here. She's been working incessantly with our office to try to find solutions. She's been working constantly with community members like the Uptown Association to bring these corridors back here. And there's no doubt in my mind that when they do, she's going to be a huge part of it. I'd like to welcome up Councilmember Elizabeth Shaffer. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor, for those kind words. As we all know, this kind of work takes team. And that's what today is about. Showing the team about how we are coming together for Uptown. We are super excited that the community safety ambassadors are coming. The community has been asking, and now the city is delivering. Why? Because we have work to do. Shortly after taking office in January, a constituent told me she had to stop bringing her young child to the Walker Library. She and her child had to navigate through groups of people openly using drugs on the street. As a mother, this broke my heart. As an elected representative, it spurred me to action. Another young person told me, you know, Uptown is like Gotham City. Unfortunately, I am not Batman, and I don't think Batman's coming anytime soon, but we have got to do this work ourselves. It will be up to us. And fortunately, we have a strong community standing behind me and all around this neighborhood willing to step up. For example, I want to acknowledge Kevin Norman of the Uptown United and all the sign holders here for organizing the volunteer safety walks. I want to honor Nicholas Hall for his work behind the scenes in the Uptown Association. And I want to honor Andrea Corbin from the Uptown Association as well for shining a light, not just on the problems, on Uptown, but the potential that she and her group are working on every day to try to solve. We are bringing the right people to the table, and we are getting to work. We put together a multi-jurisdictional team from both public health and law enforcement perspectives, working together toward a common goal, an Uptown that is safe, welcoming, and enjoyable for everyone. Because you know what? True compassion comes with boundaries. Meeting people where they are at does not mean anything goes, and we are working to get this balance right. I also want to recognize some of the governmental partners that are here and essential to this work. Lolita Ulota from the Hennepin County Opioid Team, Luda Tranafilava, including the Hennepin Avenue Security Team at the library, Minneapolis Park Police Chief Jason Ohado, Inspector Novak of the MPD 5th Precinct, whose directed patrols are utilizing trespassing restrictions, making arrests, and doing crime prevention work, making an amazing difference over the course of just a few weeks right here on the streets of Uptown. Thank you for your efforts. What we are seeing here today is government working the way it should, listening to constituents, developing a local plan of action, and using every tool available to bring resources to bear, to get people the help they need and make sure that our public spaces are safe and belong to everyone. So between now and November 8th, when the safety ambassadors come, we need your help. We would like your input and feedback into the direction of this work and make sure that these ambassadors are deployed in the best way possible that makes a difference right here on the streets of Uptown. So finally, I just want to say, everyone gathered here has a real opportunity to show up for Uptown. Let's make it happen.
There you go. Well said.
Oh, and I'm getting used to this. I would like to introduce Commissioner Barnett. Please give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Shaffer. When it comes to safety in our neighborhoods, our mission is simple. The city and community members working together. And that's the latest chapter in the story of Uptown neighborhood. We've learned that the community wants officers to do more than answer to 911 calls. We've also learned that every 911 call does not require an officer to be present. Last March, we were here at the Uptown Theater. I listened to business owners, listened to community members about their concerns in Uptown. The theater was crowded, it was filled. People there had a lot of opinions, passion, and emotion. And quickly after that, I met with Inspector Novak. And Inspector Novak said that funding for overtime for directed patrols in some of Uptown's hotspots would be helpful, and also having an officer present at the farmers market would be helpful. And that's what we did. I bring that up because I believe that was the beginning of change here in Uptown. It set us up for the success that we're starting to see today in the work that we need to continue to do. Chief O'Hara will talk shortly about the operations from MPD, but I want to say the last couple of months that a lot of the MPD officers have been doing in Uptown, the work they've been doing has just been phenomenal, especially for my 5th Precinct leadership officers there. What have they been doing? And you've heard some of it from the mayor. They've increased police presence in Uptown. They engage business owners to be part of the solution. Our officers are on the street, and those that are here doing the night shift and overnight are trying to address livability crimes proactively, and so livability issues proactively. And we've seen results. Community members are noticing a reduction in loitering. But we know that there's more to do, and a lot that you hear today is about collaboration, and that is the goal of the Minneapolis Safe and Thriving Community Report that you've heard us talk about many times, that focuses on 3 key areas. And those three key areas are prevention services, responsive services, and restorative services. When we address all 3 of those together, we reduce harm, we address issues quickly, and we have long-term stability for a safety ecosystem that's sustainable. Community safety is always a top priority for the city, and we're working across departments to expand and create community-based services, maintaining staffing levels, and ensuring public safety. This is how we reimagine community safety. Indicative of this plan for a larger citywide strategy is expanding the community safety ambassadors that we launched last summer that are along Lake Street and Franklin Avenue. Our plan is to bring that same service to Uptown by having a dispatcher and up to 8 safety ambassadors coming here in November. The reason for the dispatcher is to have a dedicated number for people to call for the services of the safety ambassadors. What do our safety ambassadors do? They provide safety escorts and wellness checks. They connect people with services, helping residents and community members file reports. They provide first aid, CPR, and Narcan. A study last November showed that 83% of the ambassadors have been seen in this area. 78% had direct contact. People had direct contact with the ambassadors. People are feeling safer. And 81% recommended that we continue the program. Lastly, I just want to point out that we've heard from community and we've acted collectively to bring improvements to Uptown. We continue to welcome community's input to work towards shared goals, ensuring that every resident, business owner, and visitor to Minneapolis is supported, heard, and feels safe. That is our commitment. Thank you. I'll introduce Chief O'Hare. Thanks.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner, for your leadership and your support of the police department in these efforts. And thank you to the other elected officials that are here, residents and business owners who have been partnering with us. Obviously, over the last few years, Uptown has experienced changes and issues around crime and quality of life. That increase, particularly over the last several months, has been driven by livability concerns. Unwanted persons, suspicious behavior, open-air drug activity, instances of theft, and disturbances that impact our residents, businesses, and visitors every day. In response, the Minneapolis Police Department, particularly the officers actually assigned to the street, the boots on the ground here, have made a deliberate operational shift. The 5th Precinct Inspector, Inspector Jim Novak here, has dedicated 2 of his most active and assertive officers specifically to this area, starting the end of last year. Their activity, as well as the work of all of the men and women that work in this precinct 24 hours a day, focusing on the problems specifically identified by our residents, our community members, are producing results. They're trying to not just respond to calls for service, but to proactively solve problems and not just respond to calls. Key part of that strategy, as our mayor, as the commissioner mentioned, has been Inspector Novak's assignment of a directed patrol unit that mainly targets these livability issues in this area. I believe Officer Davids is here in the back. Officer Davids and his partner, Officer Scales, have done incredible work in this area over the last several months. But we know public safety is just shared responsibility. So just as important as enforcement is, so is our partnerships. I'm grateful for Park Police Chief Jason Ojado, who's here with us, the men and women of the Minneapolis Park Police, the Transit Police, the Sheriff's Office, but also our business owners, residents who have taken up walking patrols in this area, as well as our City Attorney's Office, who has helped us come up with new ways to deal with trespassing and preventing trespassers from returning. And so with all of these efforts collectively, we are starting to see real results that improve the quality of life for everyone in Uptown. In April, complaints related to narcotics activity in Uptown have decreased dramatically. We're also seeing fewer repeat individuals driving disorder. That tells us that these strategies, this collective work of our residents, business owners, and all of our partners is having an impact. But we are clear-eyed and realistic about the challenges that remain. We are aware that some of this activity has been displaced, like unwanted person and suspicious behavior. Those issues remain elevated. That means our work is not done, and we will continue to modify and adjust every day our strategies based upon the needs identified by our community. So our commitment is simple. We will continue to respond to the problems identified by our residents, our business owners. We will continue to apply focused, data-driven strategies and support the great men and women of the 5th Precinct who have done tremendous work and who have helped bring about these real changes. We're going to continue to partner with our community to ensure that Uptown is a place where all people can feel safe, where businesses can thrive, and public spaces are respected. Thank you. At this time, I want to invite up the Hennepin County Commissioner for District 3, Commissioner Green, for her remarks.
Thank you so much, Chief O'Hara. My name is Marion Green. I'm the Hennepin County Commissioner for the district that includes Uptown. And first of all, I just want to thank everybody for being here, all of you and everybody behind me, the mayor, Councilmember Shaffer, Commissioner Barnett, Chief O'Hara, the remarks that they made. I also want to acknowledge Chief Ohada from the Park Police as well. None of this work happens without collaboration, and I hope that you're getting that message today. This all depends on all of us working together. The county and the city work together in so many ways. Specifically, I want to identify our work together to address supporting people who are experiencing homelessness and our housing stability teams in the form of Heading Home Hennepin. I also want to name our public health departments, which work very closely, and you're seeing in action here in Uptown. Additionally, the county also has a big role in Uptown in the footprint and presence of Walker Library. And I want to thank the library team as well as the facilities team who have really stepped up as part of this collaboration to figure out how we can change the balance, as the mayor said, in Uptown. I'll mention just as a fact that the restroom in the library is the only public restroom in Uptown. But everybody has stepped up. I'm thinking of the ways that the facilities team has changed the cadence of the security team's walks around the library and how they're connecting with both the police force and 911 in order to have more seamless communication and just deepen that partnership. I also want to mention, I talked about the Heading Home Hennepin. Part of that work has been to bring a weekly presence of a social service team here to the library. They're tabling out front every Thursday afternoon. I think some of you got a flyer about it. But this is another collaboration between the city and county that's also been proven to be an effective way of reaching people, as the council member said, where they're at. So lots of great work going on, great collaboration between the city and the county. And I do want to acknowledge another important collaboration, which is the collaboration between our Sheriff's Office and MPD and the Park Police. And I also would like to thank Councilmember Chugtai, who's been working with Councilmember Shaffer, and also former Councilmember Cashman, who was also a part of getting this work sort of up and running. It's been a pleasure, and the work continues, as has been outlined, and I look forward to continuing shoulder to shoulder with everybody who's here and the neighborhood associations. And Kevin Norman. You've been hearing about Kevin Norman, who's one of the founders of something called Uptown United. He represents some of the secret sauce of what we're seeing, and without further ado, let's get him up to the microphone.
Secret sauce is a great term. Thank you for everybody showing up here to show up for Uptown. Thank you for everybody who spoke before me. I'm very excited to represent South Uptown. I'm a resident. Just moved back here about 3 years ago after a 10-year stint in Oakland, California. And when I came back, I saw that Uptown was different. But you know, for those of you who've lived here for a long time, Uptown's been through a lot of evolution over the years. But I saw that, you know, Uptown's been through some challenges, just like Minneapolis, just like a lot of cities in America. And I think that calls for people to unite, to get together to solve these challenges. And if you haven't been watching Minneapolis over the last 6 years or so, Minneapolis rises up to the occasion. And I don't think you're going to find a neighborhood in Minneapolis that has more pride than Uptown does. So that's what Uptown United is about, is just organizing residents, small businesses, people that care about Uptown, to show that we don't have to necessarily wait around for politicians to fix all of our problems. We can kind of take our part and do some things to make a change ourselves. And one of the things that Uptown United has been doing is community walks on every Friday and Saturday night Over the last couple months, we've had an average of about 40 people showing up on 30 to 40 degree days to walk around, bring a positive presence to the street, spend money at local businesses, and show the small businesses that we care and that we want to support them. We recognize that they've been through a lot of challenges. So I'm very, very excited for where we're at. We're turning the corner. Over the last few months, we have seen a visible improvement in Uptown. We're excited to continue to change the narrative to have perception to match reality, which is that Uptown is a safe area. It still has a lot of iconic businesses that you want to come support. Has a lot of new, exciting businesses that are opening up. I've seen new businesses open up probably like every couple weeks, which is really exciting. That's part of what the community walks is about as well, is just showing neighbors all the new spots in Uptown. So we're really excited about what's to come. I'm very excited about this community ambassador program. We're going to work in really good harmony with Uptown United. They're bringing some things to the table that Uptown United simply can't bring, and I think that we're going to work really well together with them. We're just getting started. We know there's still a lot of work to be done in Uptown to bring it back to the neighborhood that some of us remember. But we're definitely turning a corner. Very excited for everybody showing up today, and let's continue to show up for Uptown. And I'm going to turn it back to you, Mayor Frey.
Well, Kevin's right. Over the last couple of months, we have seen visible progress, but we are not there yet. And with that, I'll turn it over to any questions that you might have.
Can you speak about why November 8th? Obviously, it's getting warmer right now. It's going to be 70-something degrees.
Yeah.
Why are we waiting until November 8th to have these ambassadors out there? Is it a bureaucratic process? Why then not?
To do the work of having a proper dispatch system, it does take time. I'll let the commissioner speak in more extent to that because he's been doing incredible work to get these programs set up. Let me take you back to 2020 and early 2021. We instituted several programs with great urgency in a very short period of time. And the reality is that we should have paused a bit longer to get it right. We should have made sure that compliance was in place. We should have made sure that there was clear directives, and we wanted to make sure that there was a dispatch system. And so with these ambassadors, we've got more of a plan. And yes, it's going to take a little bit longer. It has taken longer, but that was an essential part of the process. I'm going to, Commissioner, you got anything?
Director Harrington.
So Director Harrington is here, who's the head of the Department of Neighborhood Safety, and she can also give you a rundown as to why the time frame and what we're working on.
Good morning, everybody. Amanda Harrington, Director for Neighborhood Safety. We are hiring folks to do this work in Uptown, and so it does take a while to hire, onboard. There's a significant amount of training that we want these people to have before they're on the street, de-escalation, first aid, administering Narcan, all of those skills. And so we are not just waiting to start the program, we're also doing community engagement in the next few months. Starting this Thursday, in fact, you'll see us here at the Walker Library. We're going to be engaging with community members, business owners, because we want to hear how we can make community safety ambassadors work for Uptown. This is not a one-size-fits-all program, and so we need to hear from residences and business owners, what are the hours that they should be out? What are the days that they should be out? We have to do that engagement before we start the ambassadors so that we can get this program right.
I don't know. I believe so. Councilmember Shaffer is the one that took the initiative to get this whole program, a lot of this work going, and so she's been reaching out to our office and working pretty extensively with us, and I believe that's the original impetus. I'm not talking about the ambassadors. I'm talking about the work directly with our police department. So the work that we're focusing on today is not the ambassadors. The work that we're focusing on today is over the last couple of months, we've had these direct patrol units that have been operating in Uptown, and we have been seeing some progress. And it's, of course, the work that the community members are doing as well. Okay, go ahead. Yep.
Like, why did it take so long to get what was funded in a budget for 2023 to be implemented in November of 2026?
Yep. I'll let the commissioner and Director Harrington speak to that. Yep.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
No, I'll come back. We were given $3 million for this pilot from Public Safety Aid, starting with the 2024 budget session. This was a pilot, and it takes a while to build a pilot. So we had to do research around the country to see how these programs are working in other areas. We had to do, again, community engagement, looking at the data to figure out where we can start the pilot. The $3 million was set to cover 11 areas, cultural districts, as well as 4 areas of business areas. It is not possible to start a pilot program in 11 areas at the same time. And so to do a good job for the community, we looked at the data, we figured out the areas that had the most need, which were East Lake Street and Franklin Avenue, and we started the pilot program there. What I said when we started that program is as soon as we have data to show that that pilot is effective, we will work on expansion. The pilot started less than a year ago. I just want to remind people of that. We've had less than a year worth of data. We did a survey in November, which the commissioner alluded to, and that gave us positive feedback, which is why we're now looking at expansion. We know things take longer than everybody wants, but we also want to do a good job, and that's why we take the time that's needed to do the engagement and to do the research when we set up these programs.
When it comes to the ambassador program, is there any evidence or data to suggest that it will work here in Uptown?
That's a good question. We have data, obviously, from where we've started it on East Lake Street and on Franklin Avenue. They're doing a lot of business checks, checking in with businesses. We know there's a lot of businesses here, and they're very concerned about this community, so we think that model will work. We also see how successful the Downtown Improvement District has been with their ambassador model. We're not doing everything that the Downtown Improvement District is doing because that takes a much bigger investment to do cleanup and livability issues and safety. So we're focused more on the safety, getting into the livability issues. But we've seen that be very successful downtown, and so we have every reason to think it'll be successful in this business district as well. We are planning to spend about $1 million to expand this to Uptown. That will include the 8 safety ambassadors, the dispatcher. It also includes supervisors, other staff in the city to make this work. It also includes things like uniforms and backpacks and Narcan, making sure that they have the supplies that they need to be successful on the street. Printing costs, part of their job is to make sure they're promoting events in this area, and so we want to make sure that we have all of those needs baked into the cost so that they can be successful here.
Mayor, the council this week is going to be talking about legalizing drug paraphernalia. I'm wondering whether yourself or the chief want to just comment on, is there some nexus between that conversation and the conversation around what we're trying to do here in Uptown?
Yes, there is a nexus. Eric, if you don't mind, I'm going to first answer a couple more questions on this front and then get to yours, if that's all right. I do want to go back to 2020 again, because if you remember, before 2020, we did not have safety beyond policing largely. We did not have violence prevention teams. We did not have a Department of Neighborhood Safety. A lot of these outreach workers that are not armed, that was not a program that was up and running. And so in very short order, we did get these programs up and running. And look, there were deficiencies. There were a whole lot of lessons learned, and one of the main lessons learned was you can't just throw people out there without the proper training, without the understanding of connections that are involved in government. And so when the initial proposal came forward, the commissioner was clear. We were all clear. The answer is yes, we want to do this, but it's going to take time. It's going to take time to get it right. You will never find anything coming out of my mouth saying that ambassadors aren't going to work or we don't want them. What you will find is us consistently saying we can't do this in the time frame that has been designated. You'll see that from the very beginning, and we can get you the clips on that. But again, what we're trying to do is do this right. And so a lot of times you got to go slow in order to go fast, and that could be the case with the ambassadors. But again, the focus that we wanted today is on the partnership that we've got with local businesses, with our community groups, as well as with our police, and it has been seeing some success over the last couple of months. Eric, to your question, yeah, there is a nexus. Look, we need a comprehensive approach to public safety. That comprehensive approach includes a mobile medical unit. It includes our homeless outreach teams, both at the city as well as the county. It includes harm reduction work. But we know that a critical component of that balance is also law enforcement. And when law enforcement don't have the tools to prevent the drug trade upstream, as well as the tools to say, hey, you got to move out of the way of this business node so that it can see success, it damages the city on the whole. And so, look, with the major caveat of I don't know exactly the language that is proposed and will be amended, I have some deep concerns about it.
Make sure other reporters have a chance to ask questions. So, any other reporters have questions?
Let me finish off my answer, though, J. Lord, thanks. Yes, with the major caveat of it is unclear what language will ultimately get approved. Obviously, we need to make sure that we're in line with legalization of cannabis. I think everybody agrees on that. But oftentimes, paraphernalia gives officers the ability to investigate, to look further, and then ultimately to get some of these upstream dealers that have preyed upon people and caused a lot of havoc in our neighborhoods. And so that is part of the investigation, and you don't have that tool without the paraphernalia. So the question was about data. I'm going to turn it over to either our chief or Inspector Novak if they've got some additional data as to the progress that has been made. We have heard about certainly improvements along this corridor, but they can give some further information.
Sorry, I didn't hear the question. What specific data are you asking for? Well, we know both the calls for service and complaints from the community that we have received regarding open-air narcotics activity, open-air drug use, that has virtually disappeared in this area. However, we do have a heightened amount of calls around other livability issues like unwanted persons, disorderly, that type of thing. But there has been a very significant amount of enforcement activity. That is both the work that's been done by Officer Davids and his partner, Officer Scales. Those are the two dedicated directed patrol officers to this area. But also the rest of the 5th Precinct Patrol has been spending time around the clock here to address those issues as well. And that does involve, stops related to narcotics activity. It may involve seeing someone who has paraphernalia, as I think Councilmember Shaffer mentioned. A resident complained to her about not being able to walk her child because she saw people using drugs. What you actually see may be someone with the paraphernalia and you're not sure whether or not they're using. That is a tool that the officers do use to conduct a lawful stop. That doesn't mean that they're enforcing that all the time. It's a tool to stop, to identify a person. Many times they identify people who have open warrants, that they are wanted fugitives, and then they're able to make arrests for that. So, obviously because, open-air narcotics activity is a very real problem that people have experienced, not just here, along the Lake Street corridor and other places around town. Yes, that does remain a lawful tool that officers can use to conduct stops.
There's been a ton of criticism about the violence interrupter programs in the past, just that people don't really do much or they're getting paid and they're not on the streets. I guess, what are you looking for in a candidate for one of these ambassadors? How will they be vetted and how much will they get paid?
So I'm going to turn over the second part of the question to Director Harrington. What you are identifying right now is exactly the problem that we're trying to solve for before we put people out on the street with a baked program. Again, everybody was for ambassadors from day one. The question was, how long will it take to set up, and can we do this methodically? And that's the work that our commissioner has been doing. That's the work that Director Harrington has been doing. And now we're confident that we're going to be able to roll it out. Director Harrington, can you give a rundown of I think you said, what are they being paid and what does the training look like?
Yeah, we want people who actually have relationships in the community, ideally, lived experience, maybe even in the criminal justice system, because they're going to be talking to people who may be on the verge of or involved in the criminal justice system when they're on the streets. Part of that means we might be looking for people that have criminal backgrounds, and so that's a good thing. We want those people to bring their lived experience, their knowledge of working with individuals from a variety of backgrounds to do this work. I think I spoke a little bit about the training before. They do de-escalation training. They do training on how to work with a dispatcher. They have a radio system. That gets actually to one of your questions about violence interrupters. One of the big differences with the safety ambassadors versus the violence interrupters is I are connected to a dispatcher. And part of that system is we have phones, or it's a phone walkie-talkie system, so that we can actually see where they are within their zone, and we can contact them at any time, so they can be sent out. Violence interrupters work much more by word of mouth, their relationships with people in the community, and this is just a higher touch point, higher operational system. We do start them at around about $27 an hour, so we're hoping that this is a good paying job that can lead to a career with the city for many individuals. It might be an entry point to something more long term with the city.
Other questions?
Do you worry at all that
I'll do one more.
they will just move the activity somewhere else? And
Yeah.
how do you prevent that?
Right.
How do you address the core problem?
Yeah, so you're right. Dina just asked, are we concerned that from an enforcement capacity that we would just be moving the problem somewhere else? Of course. That would be a concern if you only have enforcement as a tool, but we don't. We have, again, our outreach workers. We have social service providers. We have a mobile medical unit. We have a number of different programs that are in place. And again, what we found is that if you take one of those legs out from the chair, the whole system fails. And for, a good period of time there was not enough enforcement around this issue. Again, Minneapolis is not the only city where you've seen some of these dynamics. You've seen them in a number of cities on both the west and east coasts. And again, you have to have both. Nobody is suggesting a law enforcement only approach. What we are suggesting is that enforcement should be included in the equation. Otherwise, there's not enough impetus for people to take the next step. That's already been allocated. It's public safety aid. Yep. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everybody.